Hey, everybody. So we had a nice weekend, some angel, some vagal tone, a little mix of the two. Let's go ahead and open it up to questions and experiences. You can unmute yourself, you can type in, and I'm getting the two classes up as we talk.
And again, share some questions about last weekend's class. Yeah, go ahead, Robert.
Hey, Robert.
Hey, Greg. So this is not just about last weekend's class. This is also about the two stars sessions we just had
Hmm.
because they all interrelate. There's
Yeah, they're all super. I mean, like one of the ways that we access some of those things, especially beyond our senses, is deeper levels of vagal tone and working with angels. Like I would say it was a different way of talking about the same thing we've been doing. Yeah.
okay. So and there's sort of three pieces questions that I have in this. First off, more of a statement, the ball of pure white light.
Hmm.
I always felt limited in it, like feeling that
Yeah.
there was something beyond it, but I never put myself in a space of worrying about it because if I could be in the ball of light, I could be in whatever I'm supposed to be in, and that's
Right.
okay.
Right.
But but what you said also opened it up to make me realize that it's much more than just a ball of light. It's all of what's there everywhere, and
Right.
even
And
with
but
us humans.
the intellect sees it as like I crack up, even when I start talking about this kind of stuff, I start cracking up because I'm like, what color of white are we talking about? White, like pure white light or iPod white or like, like I my mind can get like really start grinding on the details. And really the idea of visualizing yourself in a ball of light is to see the symbol of the ball. And in seeing the symbol of the ball, you begin to shift more over into the intuitive mind. Anytime you use like symbols and metaphors and things of that nature, you are going into intuition and beyond the senses. It might not be right off the bat, but you took the off ramp and you're going down that road.
I sort of look at this limitation that I accepted of being in a ball and not realizing there was more and not being aware of it in the way I am at this moment. And I also look at, like you mentioned, the picking the flowers.
Hmm.
I never really, one of my, I guess you could say, misdirections in life or my humanness is that I don't even realize what flowers there are to pick. And it's not about
I would say that's everybody though. I don't think that that's abnormal or uncommon. I would say we kind of spend so much time like focused on our loops, the thought loop, the trauma loop, the pain loop, whatever it is. And they're a kind of thing that blossom as well, kind of, you know, um, that we especially from the point of intellect, that's the thing is we're trying to manage those loops. We're trying to, break out of those loops or not try to make them happen or like, change them or, a lot of times what happens is we rename them. Like, like I used to be king of that. Like this isn't really this, it's something else, and it's something amazing, and it's got a different name, but it's the same old story. Like, like we were just watching a movie, kind of like a little series on, I don't know, Netflix or something. And I was like, they just took different pieces from different movies and then they just did this like little cliche thing of just playing this thing out. And I was like, they just, granted, there's not a lot of new stories, but it's almost like you knew how it was going to play out. And it did have like a little tiny twist, but for the most part, everything in it was very cliche, like just very, very, you know, and that's the way intellect is. Like, it does that until it doesn't anymore. And the thing that makes it not do that anymore is being able to start having light come into those situations, because even those loops are just, it's not really truth, it's a lying appearance. Like if you think of a trauma loop, that trauma was 20 years ago. It's not right now, but to the body it feels right now. So if you look at it from a mystical point of view, it's a lying appearance. It's not the truth. It's what happened a long time ago, but the body still feels like it's happening over and over and over again right now. And so this idea of going deeper into vagal tone is just a different way of bringing observation, and the idea of working with angels is a very deep way, because like really to connect with angels, you might even start off like doing it intellectually, but at some point when you truly start working with angels, you are going beyond the senses. You are very much going beyond the senses, and you're going much deeper than just the vagal tone that's going to heal the body. You go in this deeper level of repair where it's not just repairing the body, it's repairing to the point where you start to go beyond the body. And it takes a little bit to start generating the momentum to get there, but once you start to get there, bigger things start happening than just my body feels better or organ feels better, or something's happening. It really starts to change your thoughts and your feelings, and we were talking about it afterwards. It was very interesting, because I've talked about Valuetone a bunch, but I think we sold more kits after the vagal tone class, after this tuning the divine calm, than before. That's never happened. Like that's never, usually like we sell like one or two after the class. But I mean, we sold a bunch after it. And it's just because that idea of vagal tone, we get the idea intellectually, but when you start going through and you'll start looking at the vagal tone and how each little piece and the different parts of your physiology and how it impacts you, it got people's attention. It's like they had an experience that was very different than their intellectual perception of what it was. And it really was that like breaking out of those, like those stress patterns or loops. Stress loops is a better way of saying it, but
So being in the ball white light,
Mhm.
uh, finding the flowers to pick are basically bringing in our intuitive mind to find what's needed, something that our intellect can't conceive of.
Right. Like I
And
would say, you know how we do the thing where you go, okay, feel it in your body, and then you observe it, and then you start to like kind of bliss out. You have that, whoa, yeah, and you start to expand, and you start to be like, boy, that's very relaxing and peaceful. And then you go, okay, think of that past event, and you go, okay, now I'm feeling it on my body, or I'm just watching that event, and then I expand. You're practicing picking flowers. That's not really picking the flowers yet. You're practicing. Like, this is what it's like to pick flowers. And at some point, you go, you know what? I'm getting really good at picking the flowers. And then you start looking around, and then you go, I never realized, but there's a lot of flowers around me,
Mhm.
you know, because we always are kind of looking down, like when I say down, like we're always looking at our loops and we're always looking at our pain and we always look at our our things that our intellect has labeled and stuck on the shelf. And so it's almost like instead of picking flowers, you're standing there looking at the shelf going, yeah, it's all in really good order. It's been alphabetized. It's color coordinated. It's kind of order, and it's just intellect trying to manage those loops. And you know, at some point, we start to get bored of looking at that set of
That's
bookshelves.
yeah,
So here's a funny thing for me too. Like if we use the analogy of the bookshelves, um, when I was younger, I would buy books and stick them on literally on the bookshelf of things that I would like to read, but I never read it. But I had it in order. Ah,
it's ready when I
if
get there.
yeah, like if somebody was like, hey, we're gonna talk about Jungian psychology, I'd go look at all the books. Never really, later I read them, but like never really read them, but I liked having them on the shelf. Oh, look at those books on that shelf. Makes me feel so like put together. Like look at the things that I accumulated and put on the shelf. And that's the way my mind worked, you know? And, for the longest time, I kind of beat myself up about it. And, through ceremony and everything, I realized that's not a weird thing that I do. That's a weird thing that intellect does. Like that is intellect right there. You know, People might still read those books, but it's still like, look at what I've accumulated on the shelf, you know? And uh, I had a teacher when I was very young, um, and he made this observation, and he said, when you want to learn something, and uh, he goes, most people go to books and try to read about it. And he goes, you don't really do that, do you? And I was like, no. And he was like, why not? And I was like, I don't know. I'm dyslexic. I have a hard time. And he goes, but what do you do? And I go, well, if I want to learn about something, I just go do it. Like, I don't do well at it, but like, if I want to go learn about something, I just go start participating in it and then doing it. Like I kind of learn it because when I try to read it, you know, the dyslexia doesn't allow me to kind of process it like I would normally do so that I could go like, oh, this means this. Like my brain when I was young, it just didn't do that. And he leaned in and he goes, such a blessing, such a blessing, and I would say that as time went by and the more that I just embrace, like, that's how I learn things. I just get out and do it. And I stopped looking at not being able to read about it as something negative. I was just like, yeah, I'm just going to go do it and everything. I started to be able to come back and read about it after I had the experience. And then I could process it and I could learn so much more. But I did it after I had the experience. And basically, what he said to me, he said it in slightly different words. He goes, yeah, you had to step away from the bookcase. You had to step away from the accumulation of all those things that you thought and your preconceived ideas and all those things. You had to be able to go, I'm gonna let those go. I'm gonna go out and have an experience, and then I'm gonna come back and look at the bookshelf. And like when he put that together, I was like, oh, I'm not doing something bad because I was super judgmental towards myself about that I just couldn't process things that way. But you know, it is the the mystical way is you have experiences and then you process it and then you have experiences and then you process it. And then you do go and you can look things up and then it makes sense to you, you know. But for the longest time, I tried to do it the opposite. And when I couldn't do the opposite, I faked it. I totally faked it, you know?
Resonate with what you're saying because I go back to my college days learning computers,
Mhm.
and it would always start with reading something. Then
Yeah,
we'd have to do it in practice.
right.
And for me, the reading was not about learning how to, it was just like building a tree so I could put information somewhere when
Hmm.
I got it. So I would go in and work, and the first time I do it, it was like such a disaster. And I would like,
Yeah, yeah.
and then I do this a couple times, and then after doing that twice, I would just pack up everything, go somewhere else, and I would sit down and go, "Oh," it would just all of a sudden it would come to me what was going on. And I would go back to school in 15 minutes, the whole project would be done after 3 days of
Right. Right.
struggling.
You had to have that direct personal like
Yeah,
experience rather than the
right.
impersonal thing from the book itself.
Yes, but for me, the intellect needed the book just to build a structure, not
Sure.
to
I don't
not
think
to
there's
actually
anything
fill in
wrong
the
with that.
details, but just to have something to put it on.
Yeah.
Uh, but then I also go to what you said on the Astar, one of the Astars about looking out at the space between the stars in the galaxy, in the universe. And it was years ago, I remember reading a story about how there's stuff in all that black and
Hmm.
all that dark. Our human mind, most of us says there's nothing there,
Hmm.
but really there's stuff there, and we're still finding out what's there. We don't
Hmm.
know. Our intellect sort of prevents us from believing there's stuff there. But your comment about looking out at the space between the stars, it's like, oh, that's when you see what's really there.
Mm.
By believing there is something there, and the rest is just what our mind sees, what our
Right.
intellect sees.
And to build on what you're saying, if you think about like a lot of spiritual practices and even the idea of angels, you know, we're sitting here talking about angels and even the idea of healing. You know, you could boil it down even to that, like what does healing look like? And, you know, in our mind we think it's well, it's the eradication of symptoms or it's, you know, it's whatever process or whatever. But if you think of like it's probably easier to see from the point of view of like a spiritual practice where you know, if you grew up Christian, you think of Christ and maybe Christ on the cross, or some traditions don't do the cross. They just, you know, they have the form of Christ, and depending on what place in the world you come from or your spiritual, you know, religious practice comes from, you know, they basically have a white European male as the image of Christ. And if we're trying to be accurate of the form, he was not a white European male. But our mind needs like a starting point, you know, it needs a form. And, you know, you sit there and you're devotional to Christ and you're devotional to the cross and you're devotional to the idea of Christ. And, you know, and then at some point, there's this aha moment where you broke out of intellect and all of a sudden there's the intuition and it's like I don't need the image of Christ on the cross. I don't need the white European male. I don't need him to look Middle Eastern or to look like he's from Africa or whatever it is. I feel the essence of Christ rather than identifying with the imagery of Christ. you know. But at first, we still needed to have the image. And like with you, like you were saying, like I needed the book to be able to go through and look and build the tree and like where do I put things and then like you go, okay, I've arranged all of it. And then you go, okay, but there's still something more to this computer thing than just what I have on this tree. And then you start, applying it and problem solving and putting things into action and in dealing with issues and whatever it might be. And it's like now you're going beyond that tree. You're going beyond, if you think about the tree of life, there's the fallen tree, it's all the lower tendencies and for us to be able to evolve beyond those tendencies, we still had to start there. We still had it's almost like you have to have the wrong idea to have the right idea, you know. And I think the idea of wisdom is just that ability that there's something more than what's in front of me. There's something more than this idea or this tree or this computer or this guy on a cross or whatever it is. This isn't necessarily the whole point. It's just like uh, uh, it's like feeling it in the body. Like you feel it in the body and then it expands. You look at that white European male, not really accurate, but something expands. And, that again, it's going back to that idea of picking flowers. You're just starting to learn how to pick flowers. I mean, kind of, if you think about it, like the idea of being in the Garden of Eden, you know, intellect, according to the teachers, the biting of the apple was the birth of intellect. The mind being able to see the difference between good and bad and pleasure and pain and all of these things. It's the development of the mental body. And it's not necessarily evil, it's just it is a point for deeper levels of development. But it's like we started a dance on the wrong foot and we got to like learn the dance and go, oh, got to get my rhythm, get myself on the right foot again. It's all it really is.
Is
Yeah.
it as simple as starting somewhere and having an experience and then revising somewhere?
Yeah. And then just start observing your way through it. Yeah. You just start, I would say, the starting point for the longest time, I thought if I really become aware that when I start something, it's just going to be right off the bat. I
Mhm.
mean, I genuinely thought that for the longest time. And really, what it is just being able to recognize what is light and what is like less light and lacking light, and just knowing, like, nope, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. Ah, there we go. And it doesn't matter that we start off wrong or right. It's just that we keep moving towards the light. And how it starts off kind of doesn't matter unless we get stuck. Then it kind of matters.
Yeah, the recently I had something I needed a piece of code for. So I was searching the internet for an answer.
Mhm.
Uh, Very intellectual kind of thing. And I found this piece of code and I looked at it and said, oh no, that can't be right. And so I set it aside. I just ignored it. I went on and kept looking. And after a while, I just sort of set it everything aside, walked away, came back half hour later, did the search, the same thing came up. And I looked at it, I said, yeah, I looked at that before. That's not it. Well, the next day comes around and I look at it, so, oh, that's it. I had it all along, but because
Right,
my intellect said it should look like C, not
right,
A,
exactly.
I threw out A and B, which was C all along. So sometimes our intellect is too strong and going with what we think it should be rather than listening to the guidance of, here, this is it. It's on a silver platter. Just take it and run. So I look at those things, and that's pretty funny.
It is, and I would say that is the nature of like that play between intellect and intuition. Like there's this phrase about like intellect, and it says something to the effect of, when I'm in my intellect, I'm always fumbling for a key to a door that's already open, you know. And at first I was like, oh, that's kind of quirky and everything, but if you think about what you just said, intellect is like, no, it looks like this. Like
Right.
it looks like this. And you know, the answer was in front of you. It's like even that idea to perceive those things to really start tapping into. They're always there. It's just intellect has got us fumbling for some key that thinks it has to unlock something, make something happen, put something in a particular order, arrange something, micromanage something to make it happen. When really it's just about going out and picking flowers.
Thank you very much.
And then go ahead, Ralph.
Hey, Ralph.
Hey Greg, um, great class this weekend.
Good.
I
I'm so
was,
glad you enjoyed.
yeah, well, it was a mixed bag. Shall we say it was a blessing and a curse? Um,
I hear you on that.
after, so in the idea of picking flowers, the thing that came up for me to work on a lot this weekend was my lower back, which
Okay.
hurt when I was in my 20s, early 20s,
So
and
how did you hurt it? Like a crash?
L5 L5 S3 slip.
But like you're picking something up, or you got into a car
somebody
accident?
somebody sunk my brother's boat, and in the process of getting my brother's boat pulled up off the bottom of the San Francisco Bay, I slipped my disc in my back.
Oh my God, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
anyway,
like
there was
straining,
some
like
trauma there, and there was some trauma there.
sure, sure, yeah.
But ever since, my lower back has always been. If you're going to ask me what am I aware of, it's my lower back. Um,
How are your hamstrings?
and functional.
But
I
like,
would I
are
wouldn't.
they pretty tight? Do they feel pretty?
They're pretty tight. As I have, at least since my 20s, if not before, I have never been, reaching over and touching my toes has always been a, shall we say, challenge. And even now, in doing the pranic healing warm up exercises where they want you to bend over forward,
Mhm.
I wind up bending my knees a little bit to do that.
Um, so you know that in the Radiant Mind class there was that blend body tension.
Um, yes, yeah, I remember that.
Have you got that yet? Like I know sometimes
Yeah,
it takes, so okay.
yes, I did get that, and
So
I've
I
started on the Radiant Mind class.
I would do the organs of blood purification, and
Hmm.
I would do work on the low back area where you feel things. And then I would also put awareness on the hamstrings and do like inhalation on the hamstrings. Um,
Okay.
and the idea being that, there's a especially with injuries like that, there's a like a kind of like tension or armoring that happens in the somatic nerves that like is trying to prevent like further injury. And
Okay.
at first it might be a little bit helpful, but then as time goes by, it actually starts to make matters worse. A good example of that is whiplash.
Mhm.
At first it tightens up the neck so that, it stabilizes the vertebrae and if there's bleeding. And so for 24, 48 hours, it might be kind of helpful. But after that, not helpful anymore. And then you have this neck injury.
Mhm.
And so I would try that. And then, do some sort of work with like, wintergreen and bay laurel. Um, I would even try, you could try them independently. You could try mixing them together and apply them on the hamstrings. And the idea being that for the back to really be able to resolve the strain and the slip disc and all of that, um, mm, the tension out of the hamstrings needs to be diminished. And then from an energetic point of view, um, do like the general vagal tone blend or like blue healer or something.
Mhm.
Inhale that a lot on your back solar plexus. Because the thing is like that body tension through the organs of blood purification will diminish some of the tension in your body. But we also want to take it deeper into the back solar plexus because the back solar plexus really kind of dictates body tension. It dictates like the diaphragm and the tension in the spine and so the more that we can keep calming down and like de-stressing that back solar plexus because like when you have a traumatic event like what you're talking about, part of like you could say like the energy loop is that injury causes like a loop in the back solar plexus that until we break it like it's just in the energy body where that area stays like kind of wound up, and even
Mhm.
you calm it down and it gets wound up again. And so
Yeah.
like if you keep like inhibiting, calming, soothing that back solar plexus, really what you're doing is you're calming the stress or the traumatic stress of that event eventually. It might not even be right off the bat, but eventually.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would be very surprised if it was a one and done.
No, but like even when you start doing your inhaling on that
Hmm.
area, it's like, oh, it feels kind of better. You're scraping the surface. Like
Yeah.
when you really get into like unwinding the injury, you're going to have to, keep doing it really consistently to get really deep in there because the energy body remembers. One time there's this woman that I knew that um uh she had her I think it was her ring finger had been ripped off and like her ring had gotten caught in something and it ripped her finger off, right? And so she had, normal fingers, except for that finger was like a stub. And I don't know, it was like a group of people and we were doing like clairvoyant stuff. And she was holding her hands up like this. And, we were looking at the energy body. And I was like, oh, that's really weird. Like on that finger, like I knew that she was missing a finger. I go, but where that finger is, all your fingers are going up, but that one is going off to the side, like it's going like this. And I was like, that's really weird. And I'm trying to like figure out why is that one going in a complete opposite direction. And she was quiet and she let me like say all the things that she was saying. She goes, yeah, when my finger got ripped off, that's what happened, is it went like that direction. And so, when we have these injuries in the the body, we have that body memory, but we also have like an inner aura, like memory of them. And with something like with what you're talking about, the more that you kind of keep going deeper into that back solar plexus and just calming, soothing, calming, soothing, calming, soothing, it will unwind that inner aura component of that. And like vagal tone would be key,
Mhm.
some sort of vagal tone, because even like the blue healer or and there's a couple of whales that are kind of like that. The storms blend, that's in this upcoming weekend. And um I mean, that's part of what it's doing, is it's unwinding these like deep-seated patterns in the inner aura, the energy body, like the real deep blueprint in the body.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd work the vagal tone. I mean, I'd work the vagal tone here with the respiratory tract. I'd work it with the digestive tract. I'd work the muscular and fascial component, because like anytime you have like a back thing, the gut is playing some sort of a role. And then the more that the breath is off, is especially the diaphragm, the more tension you're going to have in the spinal muscles. Like they go hand in hand. If there's tension in the spinal muscles, there's tension in the diaphragm. If there's tension
makes
in
it
the
makes sense.
diaphragm,
The muscles go all the way around, so what
yeah.
impacts
Well,
the back is going to impact the front. Yeah.
and the act of breathing, like if you can deepen your breath with the diaphragm, it actually has a relaxing effect. And that's part of what you're trying to do with the back solar plexus,
Hmm.
is if you can calm that down, you're also calming down and relaxing the diaphragm.
Yeah.
So the more that the diaphragm relaxes, body tension goes down, spinal tension goes down. I mean, it goes hand in hand.
Okay. Um, so one of the things that I was doing, and when I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, is I started with Angel Adonai at, when I'm laying there in bed, and just going through the name, or
Okay.
Sokodaya,
Right, right.
Sokodaya,
Yeah, yeah.
and just breathing Sokodaya in the various speeds, in the various pauses, into the various areas, and that produced initially a good relaxation in response, and then the agitation started. It's like I had, as I've done other meditation classes, I get into really deep meditation, and I come out, and it's like all the lower centers are going, okay, you've had your relaxation. Now it's time for me to speak up and
Right,
talk about all the things that are buried down here, and
right.
stuff comes screaming out. So then I tried our Angel Michael, as a, okay, we're addressing those things of the old past, which needed to be, which I might need some help in adding light to these old things.
I would say still go back to like when those things come up.
Hmm.
I mean, because like you said, like you're going in and something deeper is coming up and screaming out, is the like whenever you have that, I mean, we can do transmutation processes and things, but a lot of these things are deeply held in the body, and sometimes they're even beyond the body. They might even be something that we're experiencing for whatever reason. And
Dare
the
we say past life? Yeah, okay.
past life, or maybe that it's like in the astral realm, like even
Okay.
beyond the body part.
Yeah.
And so, like anytime that stuff starts happening, that organs of blood purification, like
Hmm.
that's the thing to work. you know
Okay.
like do lungs, liver, gallbladder, kidney, spleen, and sometimes the spine. Like if it doesn't produce enough of relief, then also look at the spine. But
Okay.
like that idea of the body tension,
Yeah.
that should work for that. Like
Okay.
you could use, like if it just feels like it needs to be soothed,
Mm-hmm.
um, like ginger lily, tuberose. Ginger lily is a bit more transmuting, but you would still follow the organs of blood purification, sometimes you even repeat it a few times. Um, the spine you could do as well. And if you're feeling a little like off or a little like uncentered or something, you do the arms and legs. But usually, if you do the organs of blood purification, it is a very deep, like when those things come up out of the unconscious or, deep within the body or whatever it is, the organs of blood purification is always like kind of the go-to thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Keep me posted on that.
Yeah.
Like that should help, but if it doesn't, let me know and we'll look at problem solving a different way.
Okay. All right. Good. Yeah. So great class this weekend that put some more tools in my toolbox that I've been
Good.
playing with. So thank you.
Good.
And that, oh, no, go ahead, Ralph.
Yeah,
Did you mean to raise your hand? Not.
Sorry, I thought I'd unmuted. The class coming up in August that you just
uh-huh.
put up on the website,
Uh-huh.
the Guardian Angel, is that the Jupiter class?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's juicy.
Oh boy.
Hmm.
Um, let's find one here. Give me just a second. Okay, so how about we pull out the Archangel Hanael, which is number 13, Hanael. So this is the angel associated with grace, favor, mercy. So the name meaning God's grace or grace of God, spreading divine grace. Who couldn't use a little grace? And we won't do the big angelic process. We'll do materialization breath, right? So you're going to hold the oil to your chest, head down, inhale, hold your breath, up, exhale, down, inhale, 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 up, exhale. Just be still and be aware. You're just being still. And let's put the oil to your chest again. Head down and do 8 or 9 of the materialization breaths at your own pace. Inhale, hold your breath, up, exhale. You're just pausing and being still. Just being still. And now we're going to go over to the cardiovascular system, and we're going to pull out either benzoin, anula, melissa, neroli, sage, spikenard, lang lang, or cardiac support. So out of the vagal tone, tuning into your divine calm. Your awareness is on the ajna, the area between the eyebrows. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Then your awareness is on the throat. Your awareness is on the front heart. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on the front heart. And your awareness is on the back heart, the area between the shoulder blades. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths. The back solar plexus. Your awareness is on the back solar plexus. The low back, the backside of the navel. The backside of the navel. Move your awareness to the bottom of the tailbone. And then be still, be aware, and just let go. Okay, you guys, I hope you had a good study group session. And, I know it was probably more discussion than practice, but still, these mashups are fun and we get to explore things the way we wouldn't explore otherwise. And so, um, yeah. And this weekend, again, another 1 day class on vagal tone. And so, it's a shorter experience, but we're going a little bit deeper into a different piece. So hopefully you can join us. Take care.